All right, what is up, everybody? It is your boy Chrisleetv back again with another podcast interview. Today I have T Jones with me. T Jones, I actually found him on Clubhouse. He was, I think he was pitching something, and he mentioned that he had a logistics company, and I had to reach out to him and get the information and see what T Jones was about. So, T Jones, you want to tell us more about what you got going on? Who are you? What do you do? And
Sure.
how are you connected to the logistics industry?
For sure. Well, first and foremost, Chris, thank you so much for having me and just giving me the opportunity to, come on your platform and share the knowledge because just a few months ago, I wasn't even, in the space. So I was just, getting started. But for those of you who don't know, my name is William T. Jones Sims. I am a full-time cybersecurity engineer and serial entrepreneur. And so just to kind of give you guys the rundown, a couple months back, this was like mid-pandemic, my co-founder and I, we launched a trucking company. And so kind of how we got into the space was we were in the same network as a gentleman by the name of Alex Burton through EYL. And he's a successful fleet owner, runs a successful fleet dispatch company. And so we purchased his course. And so this was called the Good Energy Worldwide. It's a portal, basically an A through Z step-by-step approach to how to streamline your trucking business, right? Everything ABC 1, 2, 3. So basically, we took that course, we made the investment, and we applied something I like to call the 4E effect. And the 4E effect is a success equation that I basically made up through my failures along the way and to success. And so what that stands for is exposure, education, execution, and evolution. And so what I mean is we got exposed to an industry that we essentially knew nothing about. I had no idea what trucking was. I just, seen trucks on the road, but I didn't really understand like why they were on the road, what that meant, and all of the logistics that's behind, trucking. And, after learning and figuring out what's actually happening, you come to find out that trucking makes the world go round. It's the backbone to our economy. It's an $800 billion industry. And so, we got exposed to this industry that we knew nothing about. And so the whole goal and purpose of this was to go and get into a needs-based business that was going to produce another stream of income, specifically passive income. Because as I mentioned, I do full-time cybersecurity engineering. I have a clothing line, so I got my hands in a little bit of everything. I do some consulting. And so I didn't want to take on another job. I wanted to put my money in a vehicle to work for me. And so essentially that's what we ended up doing. And so just the second element in that equation of the 4E effect is the education aspect, which is one of the most important steps because you need to educate yourself, right? You need to do your due diligence. You need to, pick up and understand and acquire the knowledge on how to, do something. So we decided to leverage other people's mistakes. And that's why this portal was so extremely valuable because Alex was, a fleet owner who was extremely successful, but also had a track record of failure. And so that was extremely important because, they say, smart people learn from the mistakes, but intelligent people learn from the mistakes of others. And so we leveraged his mistakes. We purchased his course, which was, like I said, the blueprint on how to get started. So that's the education aspect. And then the third element in that formula is the execution. And this is where most people fail. And so because they don't take action on what they learn. So you could read, a million of these books, but if you don't actually apply the knowledge and take action, you're a smart person that just, doesn't have, the means to actually execute. And so we decided to, I went into this business with my partner and his brother. And so we basically, all delegated, different tasks, different duties, and, basically held our own and all executed efficiently. And so, and then the fourth element, which is the, compound element in the whole equation is the evolution. Now today we're 90 days, just over 90 days in, and we're running a successful fleet. So that's be able to generate passive income. So that's where we are today.
Dope. I'm gonna take it back, man, because that was a mouthful. Yeah, get some water, bro. Cause thank you, bro. Like, thank you, man. I know you had a long day, and I know, what I'm saying, I appreciate you again coming on the podcast. But I want to go back and like break down some of what you said. And so you said you're a cybersecurity engineer, right?
Right.
So tell me about that. Like, tell me, what I'm saying, is that what you wanted to go to school for? Kind of that, is that like, what I'm saying, tell me some background on that.
For sure. Yeah. So my background, first and foremost, I don't come from a technical background. I wasn't like one of those kids like in high school that was just like, really techie or, kind of like introverted. I was an athlete. kind of running around. I grew up, to be fully transparent, excuse me, I grew up in a very low income project building, broken home, single mom. I didn't, come from like, money or wealth or, I had to figure things out, And so for me, it was very important growing up that I had to, I had to get a job. I had to be independent and self-sufficient. And so I was very, technical with like my approach. And I was like, well, I have to graduate college and I have to go into a field that is going to be, waiting for me. I have to go into a field that's going to be in demand. And that's going to, I'm not going to worry about finding a job, like go into $30,000 worth of debt and then not be able to find a job making 50K. It doesn't make sense. That's not a wise investment. Right. So I wanted to go into a space where the demand was high and the ROI was great. So I figured it, kind of narrowed it down that I wanted to go into, tech. Mm-hmm. And so, I was fortunate enough to land an internship. I was fortunate enough to, along the way, found myself into cybersecurity. And so I ended up majoring in cybersecurity. I had some hiccups along the way. But just to kind of give you the, direct point is, I ended up going into cybersecurity. I did some internships and then I ended up graduating with my bachelor's in cybersecurity, got a job right after school. And then it's been, the rest is history. So it's I'm a big advocate for tech, especially in, for underrepresented communities, underrepresented youth, minorities, because cybersecurity and mastering the tech has allowed me to get a sense of my freedom back and have a flexible lifestyle that has allowed me to funnel my income into other vehicles to create more income. Okay. So, yeah.
So what gave you like that mindset, right? Because a lot of people will get come up to a lot of money, come into a lot of money, and then like want to stun on the gram and do things like that, and just like kind of show the world that, hey, I made it. Look at me. Like, what made you not want to do that?
Humble beginnings. Humble beginnings. The struggle keeps you real, and it's I always say, like, shout out to my mom for just, instilling these values in me. Cause like I said, I grew up in a broken home. My mom, just making ends meet, and she was a hustler. She was like her own boss, but she was on, food stamp section. She was just making ends meet, but she never really like scaled her skills and had that business mindset. But, she always, taught me like the struggle keeps you real. So I don't care how much money you make. To me, and this kind of ties into the name of my brand, but to me, you don't necessarily, like, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It matters how much you keep. But even more important than that, it's about owning your time. And the only way you can truly own your time is if you own your freedom. That's the only way to be free, is to own your time, right? Essentially. And so the only way to achieve that is to, have multiple streams of income, right? And so for me, it was just like, I don't care how much money you make. One thing that was just in the back of my head is just like, you're one step away from losing everything if you make a wrong decision. So you got to stay humble. And so that's just what I keep in the back of my mind, because I know where I come from and I know where I want to go. So I'm no better than anybody else, because it was just yesterday that, like I said, I grew up in a project building where people slept in my stairwells. That's what I saw every single day. So I had like this tenacity in me of like, yo, I gotta make something of myself. I gotta help. I didn't have like, anything to fall back on. Like I didn't have a room in mommy's house. Like I slept on the couch, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have a room. So it's not like I could just after college go back home to mommy's house and, and camp out, find myself. People find themselves. I already knew where I was going. It was like, if I didn't know where I was going, if I didn't know who I was, it was a wrap. So,
Dope. And you know what I'm saying? I congratulate you, man, for like the mindset, for making it out. Like you said, shouts out to mom for
amen. Thank you, brother.
That's dope. So you said you were listening to the Earn Your Leisure podcast. Shouts out to them, because I'm an avid listener, and they have a lots of information on that podcast, right? So what made you go like and pick the Alex Good Energy? Also shout out to him. What made you pick that particular one? Because they have several, avenues. They, they give you so much information on how to like level up on that podcast. So why the Alex Good Energy one?
That's a great question. And to be fully transparent, my my business partner, Brandon Mitchell, was actually featured on that podcast. And at the time he was like, I forget what episode. So don't quote me. I think it was like 67, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. It was a while back, but he was featured on the podcast, and he was the youngest entrepreneur that was featured on their podcast at the time. And so that's how we got connected. I was through my co-founder, Brandon, who was featured on the podcast. And so he met Alex at an event, at an EYL event in Atlanta. And so I actually couldn't make that event, but I remember when he was leaving, because we was, we lived together. And so I was like, I was sick. I couldn't go to the event. I was working. I was like tight, and I had to miss the event. I knew what type of knowledge and environment it was going to be. But so shout out to my brother Brandon, because if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't be possible. But yeah, that's essentially how we got introduced to EYL. That's essentially how we got introduced to Alex and the Good Energy Portal. And so from there, it was just like, we were like, for I think at the time it was like $2,000 for the course. We were like, yo, for what it's worth, like if we could execute on this, and spend this $2,000, split the cost or whatever, it'll be the best investment we can make. Like a lot of people don't invest in their education. They don't invest in their knowledge. And it's because people rather be entertained, not educated. And so for me, it was like, yo, this is a no-brainer. So that's kind of how like we decided to go with him, because we kind of had that EYL plug and that kind of like backdoor, scoop on like who Alex was. And like I said, Brandon met him. So it was just like, I trust my business partner's judgment, it's coming from a credible source. So I was like, it's all coming down to us if we execute, which we did.
Right. That's dope. And then like you mentioned earlier, the passive part, right? So a lot of people think like getting into trucking, like just, it sounds so easy when you say it can be passive, right? I'm a truck driver, and I understand like you said, I fill my head with knowledge, and that's why I'm understanding like kind of what you're saying and the people you're referring to. But it being passive, like for me, if I have an issue as a driver, right, there has to be somebody to call, somebody to talk to. Like there's a chain of who's going to talk to, when something happens, you have to be ready for all those situations. You have to prepare yourself. How did you guys coming in and through the portal and stuff like that, just understand like, okay, this is who I need here in case, what I'm saying, there's whatever the driver calls, if they need a load, if they're late on the load, if there's some issues with the load, if the driver needs to get home, if, what I'm saying, those things pop up, if there's an accident, then coming from me, I feel like it's a little bit more or less passive. So how do you organize that chain of command to where you're not as active in this business from your standpoint?
That is a great question. And you've definitely made a bunch of valid points. Everything you said is 100% on the money. To answer your question, you're right. For someone like you, this is like your situation would be a little different because you're driving, right? I'm not the one driving the vehicle. Business partners aren't the one driving the vehicle. And so what essentially what that means is it's going to be, you on the road. And so for me, we structured this business in a way where it's like we're not driving. So we're removed. And I apologize for the lag because I can tell it's still freezing. But we're not responsible for driving the truck. We pay somebody to do that, right? We hire a driver. And so with that being said, in terms of like passive income, how we've structured it, we have a dispatch. So we're not even like booking the loads, right? We're essentially just overseeing the whole operation. And that's the good thing about having a team and leveraging, your team in the business, because it's hard to do everything by yourself. And so with that being said, there needs to be like a standard operating procedure set in place that is created. And that's not something that we learned in the course. I think that's something that's going to be extremely hard to teach in any course, because it's like, you can't really teach someone how to swim without, like, you can tell them exactly how to move their arms and kick their feet. And you know what I'm saying? Don't breathe under, don't, inhale underwater. But essentially until they actually jump in and start swimming, you're going to learn that in action. Right. And so the standard operating procedure, like those calls that we get, the driver's late, driver's in traffic, driver wants to go home because he has an appointment. All of these things we need to be coordinated and we need to be on the same page. So it all boils down to communication. right? And it all boils down to us all, everyone being on the same page, and that full transparency, right? And so that's what we really like. We definitely take pride in the transparency and communication aspect, because if we're not all on the same page, the whole operation, can fall at any point. And so, we've had instances where we need to coordinate with the driver, we need to coordinate with the dispatch, we need to coordinate with each other. And so, since we're all doing so many things and there's all these moving parts, we kind of created this one channel where, all communication is funneled through this channel. So everyone has full access, full visibility and transparency on what's going on. So if I can't answer, I got my business partner, Brandon, he can get on the phone, he can answer, he can call whoever he needs to call, and vice versa. And so that's kind of how we structured, this business. And so, I say passive because, I'm not the one driving, I'm not the one booking the loads. But for me, this business is passive enough because I'm maybe getting a couple text messages in a group chat. I'm reviewing, the rate confirmation or the BOL after a load is dropped. Submitting the load and the invoices to our factoring company so we get paid in net 24 hours. Because if not, then you'd be waiting. It could be 30 days, so you're gonna get paid for a load you did a month ago. We're like, nah, that's not happening. So we've outsourced that part of it, and so it's all about minimizing leakage to the calendar, right, out of the calendar, and just as you add a dispatch, as you add a factoring, add a driver, like you're not paying 20% to have a driver because you're the one driving it. However, you're also on the road, so it's that trade-off, time versus money. And so for us, it's a matter of like leveraging each other. And just creating that type of that structure that we can all do our own part, and everyone has full visibility and full access to what is going on at any given point. I think that's key. So having a team is extremely essential to this whole operation, because I could not do it by myself if I wanted this to be a passive income stream.
Dope, bro. I hope you got a minute, because like, man, you're getting into it like for real. And this is stuff that people like I said, it's just like we see something shiny and we want a part of it, but not understanding that you have to have those different levels in your company to where if something does happen, like you said, you've leveraged, you guys have set up that communication line to where things are, I'm saying, there's a
balance.
Yeah, there's something, I'm saying, that y'all have it set up right. And I want to go into like one of my favorite things, like, is hiring a driver, right?
That's your favorite. That's my least favorite. Because that right there is hard. That's the hardest part.
Like, yeah, I'm really big. I'm trying to get into more recruiting because with my platform, I get a lot of drivers who are looking for jobs, who are looking to get into the industry, and from me helping them get their CDL into like saving $10,000 their first year in trucking. Those were some of my pitfalls and some things that I saw that could be fixed, like you said, just plugging up. Tell me about your experience hiring a driver, and what are some of the criteria that y'all look for in hiring a driver?
I'll be honest with you. Hiring a driver was the hardest part of this whole thing, hands down. Hands down. And the golden rule that we learned at SIGBY is, shout out to the portal, but hiring the wrong driver will cost you more money than letting your truck sit.
For sure.
I'm gonna say that again. Hiring the wrong driver will cost you more money than letting your truck sit. And so, when we first got started, we were like that was the last step. We were at like this 99 percentile for like 2 months, right? We literally were like, yo, like, we gotta get this driver on the road because like we got payments coming up. You know what I'm saying? And we were like, yo, how are we gonna get? I'm interviewing drivers, like 10 drivers. I got it posted on the Indeed. I got it posted on job boards, like, for a truck driver role. I'm calling folks, most of these drivers want to do local routes, so they're not even looking to be OTR on the road. And then drivers will tell you anything. You'll come across a bunch of different folks, in this industry. Oh, I'm good to go. No violations, no nothing. Come to find out, you pull their MC records. They got an open container. They got a DUI, 10 violations. And you're like, holy shit, we just talked about this. Why didn't you tell me? So, you spend a lot of time kind of spinning your wheels because you don't know what you're getting, who you're dealing with. And so a lot of the older guys that's been in the business, they got the stripes under their belt. They don't want to be on the road.
Right.
They got grandkids, they're trying to be home, you know? And so you kind of got to, figure out like, all right, well, like, I don't want to just bring on anyone, And so we were at that point where we were getting desperate. And I remember we were going to hire this one gentleman, and I had this gut feeling. I just didn't like our conversations on the phone weren't like, I felt like they weren't genuine. And
Right.
me, I'm very observant. The work I do is analytical. I investigate like for cybersecurity. So for me, I'm just like, it was something wasn't sitting right with me. And I was telling my partner, I'm like, yo, bro, this ain't it. Like, this is not it. And I don't even care. Like, I don't think this is the one. And so the day before he's supposed to start, thank God, he backed out.
Yeah.
I'm not even, he was like, I'm not, I'm having doubts. I'm thinking about not, working in this space. So I was just like, well, I was like, yo, listen, it's good. It's better that he did that, because
Right.
I just had a feeling like that he wasn't reliable and dependable. And those qualities are like the most important
For sure.
to me. And so we got down to the wire, and thankfully, we had a gentleman in our network who was a recruiter, and he was actually concentrating in the trucking industry, logistics. So we actually, went through him to funnel us some qualified candidates.
Yeah.
And so we were, because we were losing money on Indeed. It could be $50 a day, $100 a day. You're losing posting the job, and you're not getting any qualified hits.
Yes, sir.
And so we ended up just taking that route and paying a premium for us to get a driver funnel into our system. And so we ended up getting a driver. It was like we had like 12 days. We had about 12 days to get a driver before, like, we need to get him on the road. And we literally got our driver in like 2 days to spare, and he was on the road. So we were fortunate enough to secure that. Because it's a process. You have to, you have to vet him. You got to get in a conversation with him. And some of the things, to answer your question, like what I look for, I look for honesty, right? I look for a driver who wants to work, right? Who wants to get on the road, who's not, I understand people have families and whatnot, but I'm looking for a driver that wants to get on the road and wants to drive and make money, because if our truck's on the road, we're making money, he's making money, everybody's happy. And so, that was really, really important. I'm looking for a driver who's honest. I'd rather an ugly truth than a pretty lie. I can work with you if you're honest, but if you're deceitful, if you're lying and you're not, keeping it 100, as we like to say,
Right.
then, I'm not gonna waste my time or put my business in jeopardy. So I think that that's really important. So just finding someone who has the experience, right? Who's honest, who's reliable, right? Who's going to communicate, right? And so what we like to do is we like to be fully transparent and just let them know as we're we go through a whole list of questions that we'd like to ask. Are there any states you don't like driving in, right? Is there any if this was a load where there needed to be some light assistance loading or unloading the truck, is that okay? Like, would you be open to that? All different types of things, like you have any endorsements? Like, we're just looking for somebody who you know what I'm saying, that's gonna take their job serious. Are you punctual? How are you with being on time? How are you in terms of if you're late and come into a situation where you might not make it, like how do you handle that situation, right? Like, do you just not communicate that? Do you say one thing and do the other? So like, we just want to make sure that we're hiring someone who's going to be punctual, who's going to be courteous, who's going to be responsible. And so, because if not, we can't control everything that happens on the road. It could be accidents, weather conditions, and the driver, those guys have a tough job. They're underappreciated. You know this, you're on the road, it's a tough job. You're driving all day, 11-hour shifts, full time. It's tough, so we want to make sure that our driver feels appreciated, and we want to make sure that, drivers are happy, because they're the backbone of the operation.
For sure. That's dope, man. So just talking about the process with buying the truck, what kind of truck did y'all get, if you don't mind me asking?
We got a Freightliner, 2016 Freightliner.
2016 Freight.
Yeah, pre-owned.
And not to go into too much detail, but can you tell me like about the truck buying process for you guys being non-CDL holders? I know it's a little bit more difficult.
So we actually have a member of our team, one of our co-founders, and I mentioned Brandon's brother. He has a CDL.
Okay.
So that was the key element behind the whole thing. So thankfully, Sean, our other co-founders, three of us, myself, Brandon, and Sean, had a CDL. And so that was just like, I mean, because essentially if you don't have a CDL, right? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Then you got to almost have a driver before you even get your truck. How the hell do you do that? You know, that's tough.
Yep.
And so thankfully he did have a CDL. And so we financed the vehicle. And we were fortunate enough to have him on our team. We couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah, that's a key player right there. So that's dope.
For sure.
So when do you guys think? Let's see. I'm moving ahead with this one, but so you have a one truck operation. When do you guys think you'd be ready for truck number 2 or 3 or 4? Because I know like what I'm kind of understanding is that when you go from 1, you want to go from 1 to like 3 to like 6, because that 1, like you can make enough money with 1 truck 2x2, and then you bring in a lot more profit when you have those 2 other trucks, and now you're having a 3 truck fleet. So when are you guys looking to expand the operation?
Shit, 3 months ago, we was almost like we was not, yeah, we was this close to locking in the second truck and getting 2 for 1. But the financing fell through on the warranty, on the second warranty, because mind you, I said we got pre-owned trucks, so the warranty is essential. Like you got to know what kind of warranty you're getting, what it covers, major components. You don't want to just get a truck with a regular warranty and you think you're good, and next thing you know, you asked out because your transmission goes, and then now you just ate a whole year worth of profit. And you didn't get started. So we kind of, it slipped between our fingers because of the financing for the second warranty. So unfortunately, we didn't get our second truck at the same time.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, I guess so, right? So but we're planning Q1 next year, right? We're looking to get another, anywhere from 1 more truck to 5 trucks, because we're looking at lease. I think that's the approach you want to take.
Now you're talking that stuff, bro, because you can't grow too fast buying, you know what I'm saying, for your operation. With insurance and stuff like that, I'm aware of those situations. So like you're moving smart, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, no, for me, it's about the liability aspect, because as an owner, right, of the vehicle, it all comes down to minimizing room for error, right? That SOP we talked about, the standard operating procedure, when your driver's on the side of the road and he breaks down, because there isn't really any great roadside assistance programs for truckers.
Right.
And if you're leasing, then you have a little access to, you have more options, right? You minimize downtime, you get a loaner truck, right? Sometimes the leaser will provide, like, let's say that roadside, bring a excuse me, there's a train of thought. A temporary, like a vehicle for you to use while your truck is getting fixed. So you're minimizing the downtime when you have an issue occur, right? Let's say a tire blows, something goes wrong with the truck for any reason. It's all about minimizing downtime, because if you get, your truck breaks down, you got a load on the truck, like, well, how long essentially? How long until you're actually going to be up and running? Well, if you're in the middle of Virginia and you're based out of Jersey, New York, and you don't, you gotta, first things you gotta do, call a local tow truck, right? Have it towed to the nearest facility that's gonna, work on, let's say, Freightliner or whatever truck you got. Be at the mercy of them, because you don't even know them from a hole in the wall, so they're gonna be beating you over the head. And then, however long it could be, what if it's a $10,000 repair, right? How you gotta pay, you gotta get it up. So how long are you gonna be out of service until you can get business running again? But if you're leasing, you get more options, minimize liability. For me, I don't mind that, right? And I also, it's trucks are an asset, but they're, essentially a depreciating asset over time, because as the truck, acquires more miles, your warranty goes. For me, it's like, once my warranty is up, I don't have any intention of like holding on to it, because for me, it's like, once that warranty goes, I'm ready to sell the truck and get the next one.
Right.
Because I want to minimize the liability of anything going wrong.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's my plan, I guess you could say, for next year. Is we want to take that approach and look to lease anywhere from 1 to 5 trucks if we can. So we'll see how that execution goes.
I'm gonna follow up, man. I want to know how that goes, because my next question kind of goes in the line of, like, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but for me, entrepreneurship is like been something I've been really interested in my whole life, right? So coming out of like CDO school, I was like reluctant to lease a truck because I had already owned like a moving company out here in Texas. And it was me doing marketing, me doing sales, me picking up phone calls, me, you know what I'm saying? You're the entrepreneur, you have to care most about your business.
Yeah.
What did you see, like, you know what I'm saying, in your life, whether growing up or in college, like to where it was like, I want to do, you know what I'm saying? I want to take on all these roles, you know what I'm saying? And take on that responsibility of being an entrepreneur.
That's a great question. I think like for me, it was like I didn't always have this mindset, right? I didn't always have we're taught, at least I can speak for myself and growing up, like I said, in the circumstances that I had to face. I grew up on the industrial age mindset, the industrial age thinking: go to school, get a good job with benefits, you'll be okay. But when I got my first job out of college, I moved to South Carolina
Mm-hmm.
in with my grandparents. And I had my first job working for a Fortune 500 company. I was working for Michelin Tire. I'm sure you're
Yeah.
familiar with Michelin
Yeah.
Tire. And so, you know, it was a great experience. But when I was living with my grandparents, I was saving money, but I was also caregiving because my grandfather had dementia. And so what I noticed was my grandparents did everything right, right? They owned their house, they worked, my grandfather was getting a pension. So today, you think about it in the dynamic of just like the world, right? There's no pensions anymore. Unless you're working for a federal government agency, like you're not getting a pension, right? And so a pension, even like a pension is money that a percentage of your income, right? Your salary for not working. You're retired, you're still getting paid basically like 60, 70% of your salary. So you essentially like, you're still good. But my grandfather got dementia. It was a lot of work as a caregiver. Like your primary caregiver was my grandmother and I. It's a lot of work and it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to get sick. And this is where I started to learn about financial literacy. Like, the plan isn't to just go to school, get a job and work for until I'm 65 and then I'll be all right, put in my 401k and I'll be good. Nah, the plan is to like I was watching it every day before my eyes, the struggle. Like my grandmother, if she wanted to go, and mind you, I was going to work, but I was getting calls. Thankfully, I only worked like 10 minutes away. I was getting calls from her like, hey, like my grandfather fell. And, he's a bigger guy, 240 pounds. Like if he fell, she couldn't pick him up. Right. So I have to come home from work, and just go home, whether it be a lunch break or if it was something bad, like he fell, that was bleeding or whatnot, I had to go home, pick him up off the floor, I had to handle that. And if I couldn't, because I was in a meeting or I was, at a different site, then she had to call the fire department. And so it got to the point where he was falling every single day. And so we needed to hire caregivers to come to the house. And so it got to the point where anytime my grandmother wanted to leave the house to go shopping, get her hair done, do anything, she had to pay to leave her house. So think about that. How often do you pay? How often do you leave the house? Think about how much money that costs.
Right.
That shit starts to add up.
Right.
And so I was looking at the finances because my grandmother and I, my grandparents and I were really close. So I saw the money, right? I seen where the money was going, coming in and coming out. Like I'm looking at this money, like, damn, this is pension money. Like they're getting paid to not even and they're not working. They're still getting paid, but the money is still scarce. The money is still like if she needs full-time, someone in the house 24/7, 7 days a week, what are we going to do type of thing? Right. So, and we were just juggling the responsibility of caregiving and then having to help a couple times a week, couple hours a day. So it really got like real for me. And so I had a mentor at work. His name was Randall, been in the company 40 years, super, super intelligent guy, just put me onto game and was like, yo, like, this is like, he was like, this ain't it. He was like, yo, this is not it. And he schooled me and I started, getting into financial literacy and reading books and, how to invest my money and just talking the cash flow quadrant, right? Like, the cash flow quadrant, you could be in the top left, which is the E for employee. You could be in the bottom left, which is S, small business.
The I and the B.
The I, invested, I, exactly. Big business and then investors, right? And so I was just starting to think like think differently. And for me, it was about putting my money in a position to work for me because this one source of income is too close to none. And so, that was like always in the back of my mind, like, all right, fast forward, like I said, I didn't always think like this, but now I started to think like, all right, like, how am I going to put myself in a position where I don't always have to work for money, right? How am I going to put myself in a position where I can, create put my money that I'm getting, because I'm getting paid great money to work as in the field I'm working, thankfully. My first job out of school, I'll be fully transparent. My first job out of school, I was making 70K, and I was, 23 years old, no experience. And I was just like, I knew my teachers weren't even making that much. So I was just like, I was like, oh, this is a blessing. Let me just figure out what I can do with this money. And so, like I said, I had to put my entrepreneur hat on. And shout out to my brother Brandon, because his story, and we'll definitely do a follow-up meeting where I can definitely introduce you to him as well.
Yeah,
his story is insane. Like his story, he graduated 3 years, 3 degrees, went to work for a big 4 company, PwC, and was making 100K at 23 years old. And he quit his job because he launched this business, and he owns a resume writing business, which is like a career advancement startup, which is like a job strategy firm. And within his first 6 months was the 250K revenue. So it was just like he basically inspired me and helped motivate me to kind of put that entrepreneur hat on and make money work for me, essentially. So that's why we're like Batman and Robin. Like, we get straight to it.
Y'all are dope, bro. That's really dope. How did y'all meet? How did you and Brandon meet?
We met in college, actually, at a club. We were I was on the board of the software engineering club, and he was presenting one of those days, talking about I forget what one of these workshops he did. And I remember we just we stayed after the event, was starting to kick it, chop it up, and we built Rapper right away. And birds of a feather flock together. So we just stayed in touch, and we were we had that same vision, that same grind and hustle. So we just stayed in touch. And I actually, after I left because I did Michelin stint in South Carolina for about 10 months.
Yeah.
After I left Michelin, I took a severance package. It was just a cultural misfit for me. And so I ended up leaving. I ended up purchasing his services at the time, because he had just, like I said, launched the business, was doing the business. And so I needed a resume. I needed my LinkedIn optimized. Like, I needed interview coaching because I was getting ready. And I purchased the package, got my resume done. Within 30 days of the investment, I secured a job back in the city with $30,000 more increase in pay.
Yes, sir.
And so we've been working ever since. We ended up getting a spot together in Jersey City, which was a small 1-bedroom basement apartment with no windows, no oven, like, no stove. And we were in there for 5 months, locked in, side by side. Launched 3 businesses in 5 months. And so now we moved into a new duplex, about 10 minutes away in Bayonne, which is about like I said, 5-10 minutes south of Jersey City. So we've been here ever since.
Dog, man, that's crazy. Y'all got a crazy story, like, for real.
Yeah, bro. It's been a blessing. I can't lie. It's definitely been a blessing.
And I hope everything's going all right with your I think you said it was your grandparents out there in South Carolina. I hope everything's going with them, man.
My grandfather, he ended up passing, but it was a blessing that he was home, right? And a lot of folks are not that fortunate. So, like I said, to tie back in, like, you think about it, like, it costs money to get sick. Straight up.
I thought about that when you said it, but it's not something I wanted to say because I wanted out of respect. But I've heard that before. Like, it costs more to live than it is to, to die, essentially. And that's crazy because there's so much truth in that. And just having that be the way that you learn financial literacy is like, I can see how someone would be like, the money is the root of all evil type of mindset. And like, this is not, like, money is like, how do we make this turn out into be like, what you use your money to do is like make you put you somewhere more comfortable. Like you said, you moved back and kind of went through what you and your partner had to go through, and now y'all are where you are now. And just that whole story is crazy, man. Like, that's something I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that.
It's raw, man, but it's true. And I think like it's important to just be like transparent, because that's kind of like it kind of scared me straight, essentially. And so I was just like, like, we're being taught and fed industrial age knowledge, but we're in the information age.
Correct.
Right. And so it was just like a reality check, and it stuck with me. So, I was just like, yeah, I gotta start thinking outside the box and, you know, educating myself, because I was like going to work and coming home, going to work and coming home, going to work. Like I wasn't motivated. I was literally coming home and I
Hmm.
was so exhausted. Yeah, like I had just enough time to like either work out before work or after work, go to the gym, come home, it's 8 o'clock. I gotta literally eat and get in bed to start all over again. You know, it's the rat race.
Yes, sir. So, man, that's very dope. I'm just trying to think. Like, I appreciate the time. I don't know how long we've been on here. It doesn't say, but I'll go ahead and wrap it up and just let you give anything that you want the people to receive off of what you've been through, off of what we've talked about. Just any positive words or motivation, because you have, you know what I'm saying, you've had your journey. Like, it's not over yet, and I'm excited to see where you and Brandon take it, because obviously the future is bright for both of y'all. And I just want to give you the floor, man. Whatever you have, as far as, like, I know you say you have you guys set up 3 businesses. You have your clothing line, you have the trucking business. You know what I'm saying, the floor is yours, man. Let us know where you at, what's going on.
I appreciate it, bro. Chris, I just first and foremost, thank you for giving me a platform to share
Mhm.
my story, because um, I'm a big advocate for, like I said, financial freedom and financial literacy, branding yourself, owning your time.
For sure.
I'm a big advocate for lifting as I climb. I'm a big advocate for moving forward together.
Hmm.
I can't do this by myself, and I don't like respect that phrase self-made, right?
Right.
Because I think that's bullshit. I think
Yeah.
it's, you know, nobody is self-made. I think I can't take credit for my success because it's backed by my effort, but so many people have put in, so many people make things happen for me on a daily basis that I can't take credit for the little bit of success that I do have. You know, I just put in that groundwork. You know what I'm saying? And so there's no shortcuts, there's no handouts, there's no cheat codes, just straight groundwork. And you got to put that time in. I make time for my education. I make time to have study halls. You know, I host meetings. I do things like this. Thankfully, there's people like you who give us an opportunity to do stuff like this
Yes,
and
sir.
that connect and network. And so for me, I'm a big believer in just like empowering, you know, people and you know, like it's about, you know, it's always bigger than us. And so anybody can do this. Anybody can do what I'm doing. Anybody can do what you're doing, right? It's just a matter of, you know, it's a matter of doing your due diligence. It's a matter of educating yourself, because what you don't know is your greatest weakness. And
Mhm.
so, you know, with that being said, our struggle and our experience is our greatest strength, right? Because where I come from, what I've been through, essentially helped get me to where I'm going, because it helped shape my mentality. So, and that's including the failures. That's including the failures. That's including the, you know, all the hiccups, including like
Mhm.
all of that. That's all essential to your growth and where you're at. So, and don't forget, you know, implement that 4E effect. That is a real thing. I will be dropping that design, by the way, in
Yeah.
my next launch. So, you know, I'm gonna get you a shirt going on the
Hey, yeah,
house.
yeah, yeah, definitely
Send
appreciate
me
it.
your size for sure.
Dope.
But the 4E effect is real, and I don't care what it is that you're doing. You want to get into cybersecurity, then apply the 4E effect. If you want to get into trucking, apply the 4E effect. Real estate, stocks, investing, whatever it is, apply the 4E effect, which is, we went through the rundown, right? We said exposure, we said education, right? We said execution, and we said evolution, right? So you got to get exposed to know something exists. And a lot of people, especially from where I'm from in my city, you know, they never get a chance to get exposed. That's why I always go back, and I always go back to educate, and I always go back to lift as I climb, because not everybody had the same opportunity to get exposed to the things I got exposed to.
Mhm.
And so that's why I say I believe in that education. Knowledge is power. Like I said, what you don't know is your greatest weakness. And then you got to execute, because if you have a whole bunch of these and you don't know what to do with it, then it's just, you know, it's just information. And you got to be dangerous. You got to know how to execute.
Man, you're
And
right.
so then you evolve, my brother. This is what happens. You get to wear one of these, you know,
Hey,
then
yeah.
you wear you know, your heart on your sleeve,
Let me
and
see
you
that.
get
The
to,
next, that's what it's called. That's your company name, Next Generation.
Yep, Next Gen Logistics.
Next Gen Logistics. That's dope, man.
Sure.
And I
So this is
see,
my
like,
favorite shirt. This is my favorite shirt because this is the one that makes the most money. So
I feel you.
I take pride in this one.
You got to.
But yes,
But
that's
that's a
what I
dope.
want to
Yeah,
make.
that's a dope logo. That's a dope design, man. But I think like what when you said that, when you said the 4 E's, I was listening and I was writing at the same time, and that really like guided this whole interview. If you think about it, like every time you said an E, I was writing, okay, this is and you know what I'm saying? That's really what this whole interview was about. It's like the well, how were you exposed to what you were exposed to, your education, you executing, and you and your team members executing, and then like the growth of where y'all are going and what y'all want to do. So man, I think that ties everything in, and that's really dope that you came up with that. And again, thank you for coming on and
Sure.
just sharing everything, man. And Brandon, where you at, bro?
Brandon, my brother Brandon, he upstairs. He's probably on a consultation right now, but
It's all good, yeah. But Brandon, we
looped
definitely want to get him in here and just give both sides of the coin to Next Gen and hear both stories, bro. Because what y'all are doing over there is dope, and I salute you guys for, you know what I'm saying, just like you said, just taking that leap and just actually instill, like you said, going back and helping expose other people to what you're doing. So thank
I
you.
appreciate you, bro. Thank
Yeah.
you for, like I said, thank you again for giving me the opportunity and the platform to share my voice and some of my success and failures. And so, I look forward to staying in touch and communication. For anybody that's, watching this, that has a chance to tap in, follow me on Instagram at tjones_iv. You can follow our fleet page, Next Gen Logistics. We're here, we're transparent, we're looking, anything we can do to help. Chris here too, you've been amazing, my brother. Thank you so much, man, for real. And if I can be of a resource to you in any way, please don't hesitate to ask. And there's going to be more where this came from for sure. So,
Sure. And same,
definitely.
man, same. Whatever I can do to help you guys out, I definitely will. And I'll also link all of T Jones's Instagram, all this stuff will be linked in the description below, and the YouTube video, and also any show notes that were on the podcast.
Oh man, straight to it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. So I'm gonna end it here. This is Chrisleetv and T Jones. Deuces. Thank you guys for watching.